All right, welcome back to another video in the web dev live series. We are working on a personal app that I wanted to build called Memorbility, and this app is going to allow me to track all of my collectible things, in particular, like my board games or um, my kids' stuff, things that they have as far as like if they have a collectible Nintendo game, like an old retro game that we pick up from a yard sale for $1 or two. Later on, if we see that again, I want to know if we have that already. So I wanted to build us an app that we can share as a family. And so I thought I'd bring you guys along for the journey. There's plenty for you to learn, even if this is not the sort of app that you want to build. This is going to apply pretty much to anything that you want to build. And so figured I'd just let you watch, and if anybody has any questions, you want to post it in the chat. I will do my best to answer those. Can't go down too big of a rabbit hole or anything like that, but feel free to ask whatever questions you want, and I will do my very best to answer those. So I'm going to switch over here to my screen, and what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with our registration and login process. We had the register action that we started last time. We'll continue on with that, and then we're going to simulate our email confirmation endpoint. We'll set that up, and we'll set up our reset password endpoint. So let's go ahead and continue on there. So I have my Docker container running, and I have, let me just close down. We have created our tables with migrations, and in our last video we set up the routes here, and for unauthorized routes down here, we're passing these through, and all we have so far is a group for our authentication routes, and we have a register. In our authentication controller, what we've done so far is taken the ability to have a post sent to this endpoint, and we are creating a user based on that endpoint. And so let's continue on with that. If we look at our users model here, we do want to set up some validation on this. And let's see. Yeah, we definitely want to set up some validation. I don't have any validators set up right now, so we may come back to this. Maybe that's something we can start with, is set up some validation on this. Let me just see. Let me think about how long this is going to take, because I'd like to do some more of the registration process, but we have 3 models so far with no validation, and I don't want to have so much tech debt built up to where we had to go back and add validation to everything. We can kind of add validation as we go. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and copy the validators that we have in Rua. That should work fine, and then that'll speed up the process, and we can add some validation here. So let me just look that up. Okay, I'm gonna copy these over here, and okay. So I'll kind of explain any of the code if you guys have any questions about it. I'll dive into it, but we've already gone through this in previous videos, so I don't want to spend too much time there. But I'm going to create a new, let's create a new package that we'll call validators. And inside validators, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this custom validator.php. Okay. I'm going to paste this code in here and we'll change what we need to. So the namespace here needs to be app validators, and it's an abstract class. And so this abstract class, we're going to extend this for all of our validators that we need. So basically all this is setting up, it gives us some properties, which just success, which will be true or false, a message we can pass back, field, additional field data, some rules, include deleted type things that we can pass in here. And then this basically, what it does is in the constructor, it sets up the model and makes sure that they've added the necessary things, or gives them, it throws an exception just to help us know what's going on there. And then any sort of other things that need to be set up for any of the validators, it gets set up here. And then it runs this success equals run validation. And then anything that we extend, we have an abstract function that we have to implement called run validation. Okay, so we'll go ahead and I'm going to grab some of those validators. Most of them are very, very simple. And so this is only going to take a second basically just to copy these in. So we'll create a new one called required validator. This one here, again, we're just going to change this to app validators for the namespace. We don't actually need to have a use statement there. So this one, it extends our custom validator, and we have our run validation method implemented. And all this does is trims the value, and then it just makes sure it's not equal to an empty string, and that it's set, and then it returns if it passes or not. And that's it. That's all we need to do for the required validator. So let's move on. The next one that I want to grab is I have an email validator. So let's create a new file here. And this will be email validator. Again, we just need to change the namespace here so that it works with our autoloaders. This one, what it's doing is using PHP's built-in filter var stuff, and it's just making sure that it filters to a valid email. But it checks if it's not empty. That way we can have an email validator on a field that's not required. So it sets it to true by default, and if it's not a required field, it'll pass in here. Otherwise it'll still pass, so that's why it's like that. Okay, let's see, let's grab the next one. I have a matches validator. Sometimes copying from Bitbucket's a little weird. I'm just copying this from my Rua MVC framework stuff because there's really no reason to rewrite these. This one, it just gets a rule passed in and it makes sure that the value matches that rule. Very, very simple. And I'll show you an example of using all these as we go. The next one, we have min and max validators. And so this one will be the max max validator.php. Again, we will just change the namespace to app. All this does is it allows us to pass in a rule for the maximum character length, and it makes sure that it's less than or equal to that. Likewise, we will create a min validator like that. This one's super simple. I could probably just copy and paste the max one and just change the logic. But just so I don't have to think about it. Yeah, this is same thing. You know, we're almost done with this part, but yeah, we'll be able to use these. This one just takes the rule and makes sure it's greater than or equal to that. Otherwise, it fails. Numeric. Now, one custom one that we'll probably build from scratch coming up, which is really cool, is a email strength validator, so that we can make sure that people are using strong passwords. I said email, password strength validators, and that one will be pretty interesting to build. We'll use Dropbox's library that they have. It's called ZXCVBN. I really like that one. It's really cool, and I recommend it. We'll be using it on the front end and the back end to make sure that passwords are just to make sure that passwords are good to go. This one might need a little bit of finagling here. This is going to be a unique validator. Looks like I missed it. PHP. We'll change this to app. Let's just look through this code a little bit. Run validation conditions. Just double checking to make sure. Yeah, this one just modifies our this just modifies the find first parameters, so that's okay. Let's see if I can auto indent this file. Since I didn't have the PHP tags, it didn't know how to do this. So go to code. Let's see, do I have auto indent? They changed they changed the menus. So anyway, there we go. That's good enough. I think that'll work for us. We'll come back and do the strong password strength validator when we get there, because I don't want to do that just yet. Well, you know what? We might as well, since we're in these validators. Let's just go ahead and do that. So we have to, we're going to install a library for this, and just looking what that's called to be exact. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong reference file. Bear with me here, sorry. Yeah, we're not going to be bringing in too many libraries, but this one, let's just go ahead and let's Docker exec into it. So I'm going to look at my container ID here. I'm going to copy that. We'll do Docker exec -it bash, and now we are in that container. So if I ls, you can see we have a front end and a back end. I'm going to go ahead and go into the API. And from here we can run composer commands. So I'm going to do composer require And we were going to require, it's called, let's see, my eyes are giving out on me, guys. I'm getting old. I can barely read this. BGEA BG bonds, and then it's ZXCVBN-PHP. Okay, so it's installed that now, and so now we can use that in a file. So let's go ahead and pull up the password strength. So this one's in the validators. We're going to go to new file, and I'm just going to call this password strength validator. And this will get the same namespace. So we'll do app validators, and then we're going to use ZXVBN, and then this class will be an extension of our custom validator. And it gives us an error message because we haven't implemented the run validation. So we need to add a public method for run validation. And then in here, all we need to do is set up passes. Okay, so our value is going to be equal to this model, this field. That gets the value from the model that's built out. We'll set pass equal to true by default. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if not empty. So we only want to check this if the value is not empty. And then at the end, we're going to just return pass. So in order to use this library, we're just going to set up, I'm just going to call it ZXCVBN as a, and then we will instantiate a new object for that. And then we do a check here, and the check is going to be ZXCVBN. And then we could pass a, they have a method called password strength, and we're just going to pass the value into that. And what that's going to allow us to do then is going to return an array, and inside of that array it's going to have a score. And so we're going to say pass, and then what it does, it gives us a score from 0 to 4. And so I only want to accept this if it's a 3 or a 4, so I'm just going to do pass is equal to check score, and we want to make sure that that score is over 2, so greater than 2. So that means 3 and 4. So it's only going to be an integer of 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 is what this is going to return. And I only want to accept 3 and 4. So greater than 2. That's it on password. So now we can make sure that our endpoint will accept a strong password. All right. So we can go ahead and close this. Now we can set up some actual validation on our users model. So underneath this before save, we can add public function validator. I don't know why it does that. Thanks for trying to help me though. We are going to add a validator, and inside this validator, for each validation, each thing we want to oh, I got a chat from Reagan. Says, hi Curtis, great job watching from Nairobi, Kenya in Africa. Awesome, man. It was great to have someone across the world visit. I'm glad, I hope you get something out of this. Ask any questions that you want. And yeah, the idea here is just kind of sit with me and watch me build something. And if something pops up that you want to know about, I'll do my best to answer it. So this validator, now for each validator we want to run, we just have to say this run validation, and then what we're going to do is pass one of those validators that we created into this. But first you give it, well, let's go ahead and import these. So use app validators, and I'm going to use a group here, and let's bring in required validator first. This is the easiest one to use. So we're going to say for required, we want them to go ahead and we want there to be a first and last name. We want to have an email when they're registering. We're not gonna force them a password during registration. We'll explain that in a moment. So I'm gonna say new required validator, and this takes the model. So I just pass this in as the first parameter, and then it gets an associative array as the second parameter. And the field here is going to match our field that we're trying to validate against. So let's say first underscore name, and then we just have to give it a message of our message will be first name is required, just like that. Now let's go and test that. If I go to our register method and we just get rid of first name and we try it, well, we have an error here, so let's see what that is. Call to an undefined method to array on users. Yes, that is because let's double check and look at our model here. I'm going to look for validation. Validator. So the save method calls this validator. So this should have been called. Oh, I see. Okay, so what we need to do here is we're actually going to set up a success here, and if this is not successful, so if not success, then we're going to return this API error response, which takes the response as the first parameter. And then for the errors, we're going to pass in user get error messages. And then for a direct message or a string message, I'm just going to put registration failed. Okay, so let's just see if that works now. And then we'll get back to the other. Yeah, so now if we look here, we get a success false, and then in the errors it says first name. It gives us the field back so that we can do validation on our form. We can display those errors in the front end, and then we tell it that the actual message gets sent back, and then our overall registration failed message gets sent back here. So that's looking pretty good. We don't have the we don't have a to array just yet. I think I'm going to save this for another video. We need to build this method out. So this right now is just going to be a problem. I'm not going to do that right now because I think it'll stop momentum with what we're working on, and it's not necessary for now. So we do need to go and implement this. So in fact, what I'm going to do is, let's see. Actually, there's quite a bit that we're going to end up doing in this model to make this better and allow us to have a lot more functionality. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to implement this add error message, get error messages. Let's put this, oh, it makes sense to go underneath this assign, I think. So what we're going to do here is put a big to-do comment, implement to array method. And what I'm going to do here is we're just going to stub this out. So public function, and on this we'll say to array. For now, we'll just leave this kind of empty, and maybe what I do is I'm just going to return this for now so it doesn't break on the front end. See, now this is accepting this. So yeah, I like that. Let's see. That's good to go. Sorry about my phone vibrating. Let's implement a few more of these. So I'm just going to copy that down, and what we're going to do is add the same thing, a required field for last name. I want that to be required. And also email. And then what we're going to do is let's check uniqueness, because we don't want to have duplicates on email. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring in unique validator. And for the email, the unique validator works like this. Let's see. Unique validator. Oops. And so for the unique validator, what we're going to pass in for that, let's look at it. We need to know a field. Additional field data. So field can be an array. So we're going to add field is going to be email. So it's going to look like this. In the user's model field, we'll just, for now, let's give this an array. And the first element in this array is going to be the email field, but we want to make sure that it's not deleted. So that if it's deleted, actually we don't even need to do that because that'll work with the soft delete. So that's fine. And then for the error message, we'll say email is already in use. Do I need to give anything else to this? I think that's it. So if we go, let's test some of this validation out. Let me just see. The other one that we want to add here for email is we want to bring in the email validator. And we want it to be required and it's a valid email. So we'll say email is not valid for that. So let's save that. Let's test a couple things out here. I'm going to add, you know what, I'm going to get rid of all this. And then here, I'm just going to do Curtis.Parham. Let's see what we get back. Okay, so we get 3 error messages back. We get first name is required, last name is required, email is not valid. All right, great. So let's do Curtis. Oops. Let's put a valid email address in here now. Now we should get 1 error message back, and we did not. That created another user. So let's go ahead and look at our database now. I'm going to bring this in right here, I think. Let's find out what's in our database. It's possible that our unique validator is not working. Let's see. Memorability table users. I'm gonna refresh this. Oh, yeah, that one was unique because the first one I had Gmailinator on there. So let's try to send that again and see if we get an error this time. We did not. That's no good. No bueno. So something is wrong with our unique validator. So let's look at this real quick. Value field. I want to look also at this and the constructor. If it's an array, this field is the first element in the array. Okay, that looks right. So field is email. It should be getting this, should not be passing. So we have an error in this. Let's this model find first query params. So let's look at a couple things. Number one, let's look at our query params. Let's just dump and die that. Okay. So the conditions are emails equals, and then it's passing that's binding that. That seems correct. All right. Let's see what we get here. Let's dump and die other. We get false. Interesting. This model. It's almost as if something is wrong with our find first method. Although I don't think there is. Soft deletes, static table. Params. Let's do result query. False. DD params. You guys get to see all kinds of. Okay, so email equal and deleted not equal to 1. Fetch style 8. Those params look correct. Static get db. This function here, db get instance. Okay. Let's static table. Okay. Well, let's go in here to define first. Let's just go ahead and dump and die table params class here as an array, because I want to see what these parameters are being passed in here. Users, that's correct. Our conditions in bind is correct. And it's returning a user's object. All of that looks right. And it's making it here. If this read, return this first. So if I go to read, let's look at what our query turns out to be. dd SQL. Select star from users where email is equal to this bound parameter and deleted is not equal to 1. That looks right. We can test this. Let's go to our database and we're going to open a new console here. Paste this in and we're going to replace email with this.param@mailinator.com. No database selected. Use memorability. Oh, interesting. It is returning an empty string here. Let's try this. Oh, it's our soft delete params are not right. Deleted not equal to 1. Let's say, and let's switch these. Okay. Let's go to our model. Let's get rid of all these dump and dies so that we don't have a bunch of these. All right. So inside of our model, there is the get soft delete params. I think what we need to do here is instead of deleted not equal to 1, I think we're going to have to do where deleted let's do a paren around this, and let's say where deleted is not or is null or deleted equal to 1. Deleted is null or deleted equal to 1. Deleted equal to 0. Let's just see if that logic works in the database directly. So we're going to say and deleted is null or deleted is equal to 0. Okay, we still get these two. I'm going to set one of these to 0. Oops. 0. Save that. Okay. Yeah, so a couple fixes here. Number one, we had to change that, but we also probably want to set deleted by default equal to 0 here so that when new records are created, it sets it to 0. Because MySQL does some weird stuff with null sometimes. I forgot about that. So that should work now. So let's go and first of all, I'm going to get rid of the extras in my database. So we can close this now. Refresh here. I just want one user in here for now. So let's delete these two, and then let's try to hit this again. We have another RDD. Let's see, where do I have it this time? Make sure there's none there. None there. Oh, here we go. All right, let's try that. Yep, email is already in use. And if I change this to Tony, let's say Tony there, and then we do get a new user ID. Perfect. Okay, so when that's first set up, email confirmed is set to 0 and active is set to 1, and force reset is set to 1. So there's a couple things that we need to do. So we got validation working now, but what we also want to do is we want to create, when they first register, we want to create and we're going to eventually send out an email confirmation with that. So I think what I'm going to do is inside of the user model, let's just create a method for create confirm email, something like that. And this is going to be a public function. I always forget to type that for some reason. Public function. So what we'll do here is we're going to create, remember we set up models for the email confirmations, and this gets a token and it gets a user ID. And so we need a way to generate that token. So let's go down to users here. Let's just say token equal to, and let's do unique ID. And the unique ID, let's pass the this ID, or concatenate on an underscore, and then let's concatenate on time. All right, so that'll be the token. And then we want to, in the email confirmations, let's see, we're going to set up the user ID and the token. So we'll say confirmation is equal to new email confirmations. So confirmation user ID is going to be equal to this ID, and confirmation token will be equal to token. And then we'll do success is equal to confirmation save. So then in the auth controller inside this registration, we'll say after this, for if success, this is where we want to send out email confirmation, send out email, confirmation, we'll just call it that. And so what we'll do is say confirmation is equal to user create confirm email. Is that what I called that? Let's just call this create email confirmation so it matches the model name. Naming is hard. All right, and then in here what we'll do is we'll return if success, then we're going to return the confirmation, else we're going to return false. Okay, And then here, what we would be able to do normally is this is where we will send out the email. But for right now, I don't have email set up yet. So what we're going to do is it'll create that row in the database. So let's go to the database, and I'm going to just remove these here, and let's test registering Tony again. And let's see if Tony gets, so she's ID 5, so let's look at email confirmations. And so we got what happened here? Token, unique ID. I didn't use the right function here, I don't think. So let's look at php.net, generate unique string. PHP generate unique string. I feel like, did I just use this wrong? Takes a string. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna read. I've done this in a different project. I'm gonna look at that real quick and see what I did, so I don't have to spend much time on something so small. Almost there. Okay, I know what we're gonna do. Let's just change this to a SHA-1. And I'm gonna remove this. And let's go to our users table. We'll also remove this. And let's try again. So now she's ID 6. I refresh, she's there. If I go to email confirmations and refresh, okay, that's a lot better. Yep, that's what I expect to see. All right, so now we have a token that we can use, and I want to create an endpoint for us to confirm the email. So the idea is we're going to send a link that has the token in it and the user ID, and they're going to, we'll find this user ID by the token, and then we'll be able to look and see if their email matches this token when it comes in, and if it does, we'll remove this row, and then we'll set their email confirmed boolean to 1. And then after that, they'll be forced to set a new password. So the registration process is multi-step, but it takes away having to pick a password for the registration process. Okay. Let's go ahead and start that process. So let's create a new endpoint, public function confirm email. This is what I want the email link to go to. So the args here. And this is going to be a post. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the token. We'll get the token, and that first we get the body. So we'll say get parsed body. Token is going to be equal to get else, which we haven't created yet. So we'll just say data token or no, that's fine. And we'll just do user ID is equal to data actually I don't really want to pass the user ID in that, so we're not going to do that. Instead what we'll do is email data email, and then what we'll do here, and actually I kind of want to, well, let's create one more helper function so I don't have to do that all the time. I'm going to create a function called, so if this doesn't exist, if function not exists, get else, and we're going to say function get else, and this is going to take an array, a key, and a default value, and we're going to set that equal to null by default. And so this will just return array key or default, like that. And then that way here we can just say, it's not much less code, but maybe a little easier to read, get else data token, like that, get else data email. All right, so then what we're going to do is we are going to attempt to get their email confirmation by that. So we will do confirmation is equal to, and we're going to bring in the email confirmations model. So confirmation is going to be email confirmations, find first, and we want to find first where the conditions are that well, we're gonna have to do quite a bit here actually. So alias, set that equal to EC maybe, and then we'll say joins, and we're going to join on users, and we're going to say where user ID is equal to ec.id, and that's just going to be u for an alias. This could be just a regular join. So then for the conditions, we'll say we'll say ec.token is equal to, and u.email is equal to a bound string. Then we'll bind these, and that'll just take the token and the email. All right. And then what we'll do is we'll say if not confirmation, then we want to return this API error response. And we'll just tell them token is bad, something like that. They shouldn't get this if they're following the correct things, but we'll do that. Then what we're going to do is if that is if it makes past this guard statement, then we want to grab that user. So we're going to say user is equal to users find by ID, and we'll just pass in the confirmation user ID like that to get this user, and then we'll say user what do we call that? Email underscore confirmed is equal to 1, and we'll save that. And then we'll just return this API response. We'll just say success is equal to success, like that. Okay, perfect. Let's test this. Let's create a new, well, we have to add the route. So go to routes API v1. So we're going to add a new route to this same authentication thing. So we'll say auth. This is going to be a post. And we're going to send this to confirm email. It'll be the auth controller class confirm email. Yep, looks good. So let's test it. Let's create a new request here. This is going to be confirm email. It'll be a post. Base URL v1 auth confirm email. No authorization on this, but for a header we're going to do content type application JSON. And then for the body, this needs an email, so we're going to give it an email of tony.rm@mailinator.com, and it needs a token, which we're going to need to grab from the database. So if we go back to email confirmations, I'm going to grab this token. If we put that in there and hit send, we get an error. Perfect. Column not found ec.token. Okay. ec.token. Email confirmations. That should have a token. Okay. Email confirmations. There's definitely a token there. And well, let's go and look at our model and make sure I did the alias right. Okay. Maybe I didn't even add the alias stuff in here. Okay. Yeah, I don't have it yet. So we need that. So I think what we'll do is we're going to say alias is equal to that. And then what we'll do is we'll say if table, wait a minute, if is set params alias, then what we want to do we'll say table is equal to dot equals, we'll add as alias, as params alias. And actually, okay. Then when it builds this out, table here will say from table. Columns. If array exists columns. So star. Maybe what we have to do here as well is do columns is equal to alias dot columns. And then down here, where it's building out columns, right here, we're going to have to columns array is equal to explode by a comma columns, and then we'll do array walk columns array. I'm going to pass in call use alias, and then we're going to say hang on, if not empty alias. We need to do all this. Then we'll say array walk, and we're going to say call is equal to alias dot period call. in columns is equal to implode by a comma columns array. Ugh. Okay. The other thing we'll probably have to do is do the same thing for the deleted by stuff. But anyway, let's see what this says. We have an error in our SQL. Is it going to show it to us? From email confirmations as EC, enter join users. Maybe we have to get rid of that as with MySQL. All right. From email confirmations EC, enter join users U. Oh, I see what it is. It is this alias dot probably gonna be more here. Okay, so token is bad. So let's just down here, let's go ahead and see what our SQL is. Select ec.star from email confirmation EC. Enter join users U on u.it equals ec.id. So that's wrong. That should be this is wrong. So this should be ec.user_id. So this actually might work, except for deleted. It's going to be ambiguous. So I think we have to look for those soft delete params. Let's add alias here. And I messed this up. This would have eventually been a problem anyway, so I'm glad we came back to this. What we're going to do here is we're going to say in here, we're going to say alias is equal to get else, and that will be params, and we're looking for alias in here, and it's just going to be an empty string. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if actually we'll do it like this. We'll do a turn array. So if not empty params alias, then we're going to return alias dot params alias damn it. We'll concatenate on alias dot, like that, else it's just going to be an empty string. Alias dot. So then here, we'll just use alias here. That. Do some string interpolation. And let's see what that turns out to be. Select where ec.token and ec.deleted is null, or also have to do it here. And here. Yep, that looks cool. David Sunday, what's up? I haven't seen you for a while, man. Good to see you. Okay. So I think what we can do now is go back to this read method. We'll get rid of this dump and die. Let's see what happens now. Another error. Unknown column ec.deleted. Ah! Dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. That's a tough problem to solve. So what's happening, well, one way we can solve it is like this. We'll just reverse this and we'll say users. And we're going to say the alias is you. And then we're going to bring on email confirmations. And then this will be EC. That should work. And then we'll just say columns. And I just care about ec.star right now. So let's try that. Users. What? How did u.ec happen? Oh man. Getting some of these early bugs worked out is always a pain in the butt. But once we get it, the rest of the application should go pretty smooth. But what I am going to do, let's go back and just make it easy on ourselves, and let's see what freaking SQL we're getting back there. Select u.ec.star. Oh. Okay. So maybe I don't want to do this in the columns here. Let's just let's reverse that. Select ec.star. Okay, that's gonna work. All right, so we got success true back. If I do it again, we should get an error. No, that's because we're not deleting it yet. But let's go check the database and see if that worked. If we refresh this, email confirmed is now 1, so that's correct. but we want to delete this row. So I think what we'll do there is the last step for that would be, if it's successful, then we want to delete that confirmation. So I'm just going to say if success, then we're going to say confirmation delete that. So let's try that. So we got success true back. Now if we look at the database, I suspect if we refresh, it should go away. It did not. Why? Fresh email confirmations. Confirmation. So let's just dump and die confirmation here. That actually might delete it, or I think I know what happened there. Yeah, it's giving us back a user, and it's trying to delete the user with that ID. So I think instead what we have to do here is, and we can't run confirmation delete because we use this like this. So I think the best option that we have here is to do, I hate this. We'll just say conf users get DB. We could have used any model, so it doesn't matter what model we use. We're just going to get the database. And then let's do a delete. And we're going to delete on the table email confirmations. And we're going to delete where the ID is equal to confirmation ID. So ID 2. Yeah. Let's get rid of that. See if that works. Send. Send. All right. Refresh. Okay, that's gone. That's good. Make sure our user's still here. The user is confirmed. Right on. So we have our email confirmation done. All right. Well, with that, guys, I think I'm going to call it. That was kind of a long live stream. I was hoping to get more done today, but we got model validation done. We got our password strength stuff installed and validation set up for that. And we got a new endpoint set up for confirming our email. And the next video, hopefully we'll finish up our registration process with setting an email or a password. And then we will also maybe set up sending the actual emails out, but I think this is good for now. So we actually don't need this email confirmations model. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day.